because we started the first deal, what I've explained, the hospital deal, but this deal is a smaller one. Maybe we could close this in a shorter time. And to put this deal at first, make this deal at first, and the second one, the big hospital deal.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that I only have 1 million equity now, and I need 1,600,000 for the.
So this other deal needs 1.6, or this other deal needs 600.
The first deal needs 1 million, and this needs 600. Yeah. So altogether, I need 1.6, but I only have one.
I just do one at a time. I mean, because that deal is the first deal is a company starter.
Yeah.
Remind me to talk about company starters, okay, when we go in. A company starter, I mean, meaning that just what it says, it's big enough to start a company. I mean, you could just run on that one deal over 2 or 3 years, build it up, learn how to be a real CEO. Or, I mean, just based on the size of that deal, because it's got enough meat on the bones.
Yeah.
Whereas some of these things that are 3, 4, 500,000, there's not enough meat on the bones to be a company starter. Plus it gives you street credibility. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you got to make sure you get that deal done. It's too sweet to God forbid that it gets fucked up somehow.
You mean the big hospital one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's
So just to make it first, and after that.
Yeah. It'd be nice to have the other deal, but don't fuck around and lose momentum and lose focus.
Mm-hmm.
Stay focused on that.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is a sweet deal. I mean, you'll be telling stories. Well, I'm already telling stories about it, but I mean, you'll be telling stories about that for 10 years. Because it is. I mean, it's got all the proponents, and nobody's going to ask you, how the fuck did you get that equity 10 years from now? Just that you did, and you didn't give up anything, or hardly anything. That's the incredible part. You can get the equity any place. You want to give up 80% and get thrown out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are, whether you got, they throw you out first, or they just take the deal. But I mean, so it's great.
Yeah.
It's a sweetheart. And but this one's smaller.
Yeah. It's 2.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's the deal size, actually, the transaction price. And yeah, I can explain. So 2.5 million is the transaction size. We have to pay 70% for the owner upfront, and the rest in 2 pieces in 2 years. And we get 70% finance from the bank, which is 1.2 million in the first year. But this is finance too. So we agreed with the bank in one chunk. And so the equity part is 525, but with the costs and with the fees and everything, it will be 600. And yeah, that's it. That's it. And one other thing I told the guys, that our structure will be like, we have a holding company, and we put an SPV between the target and the holding in each acquisition. That's because the bank will put collateral only on this and this, and we don't have collateral on the holding because this is the buyer.
And that's what the 30% is?
Yeah.
The buyer, you mean?
No.
As a seller.
As a seller, we put our equity partner puts the money here, and we establish with that money the company, and we put the equity there, and this company will buy the target. And in this case, the bank collateralizes only this and this, and it will be good later, because if something happens with one company, then it doesn't affect this. This is the SPV structure. So yeah, that's it. And it has some tax advantages too, this formula. That's it. So, but I have to do it in the first year.
Yeah.
No, that's it.
Okay.
Then yesterday we started to work on one of the Richard cases. That is real estate for pensioners moving to Mexico.
Development deal in Mexico.
Development deal in Mexico. And we went over some numbers, but basically, yeah. I think it's over here.
What's that noise? That's the little animal that killed the guy. See the one with little horns, cute little thing?
That's the one.
Oh yeah, cute little thing. Holding it and kicked back with its hind legs and tore the guy. All of his guts fell out on the dirt.
How
Cute
big-
little thing.
How tall is the animal? How big is it?
I mean the animal's like this big.
It's like a goat.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
And it died a couple minutes later, I guess.
Well, we killed it for sure this time, you know. But I told a story that I was sitting on a big 15, 18-foot crocodile. And we're taking pictures and I'm holding, and you always take your ammunition out of your weapon when you're going to the camp. Okay? So they had towed it in there and I'm sitting on the shoulders of the croc with my rifle like this. And out of the corner of I felt like something under my butt, like a vibration, but I didn't know it was, I said, well, and after you die, your muscles contract and your soul is twitching. But then when I saw his fucking tail move, like that, I jumped up and I realized he wasn't dead. He was just knocked out. Because a crocodile only has a brain about as big as a walnut. And even though this eyeball and everything was blown out, it didn't hit him in the brain. So I jump up, and of course nobody's got any ammunition in their weapons because we took it all out because we're in camp. We're all running around, and my gun bearer and all these guys are climbing up trees and shit, and I'm trying to where's the fucking ammunition, and we're running around. But they're not always dead, and that's why in real life when assassins and they shoot them 4 or 5 times to make sure they're dead. Because, a lot of, shit can happen. Okay, continue.
I don't know how to see, but basically, Richard is working a deal to buying land to build property for retired people. So we did a kind of a research yesterday to see which is the real value of the rent on the services to see what's viable. And in terms of actually, if the rent of the people that are going over there would make it viable in terms of financing the deal. And then we thought or we discussed about selling a blueprint about 40% before even doing anything else, just to make sure that actually there's enough interest and market, the demographic is working towards the units that he wants to build. So according to the numbers that he's running, the first development will be 12 units. At a rent of 2,500 each unit, and that would bring a value of 355 a year, I think it is. And this is in Mexico. So the other consideration here, so one thing, Mexico. So one thing is just to set on blueprint first, around 40%. Just to make sure that we have enough momentum interest actually, and actually to avoid over-financing from the very beginning. And the second consideration was to hire local experts already developing these kind of things in Mexico, just to make sure to actually have all the entries and contacts, whatever is required with the local authorities, laws, construction, because it's quite difficult to understand from other countries what is the requirements in country, and would be probably very expensive for whatever country architect to go to another country and be compliant with the regulations, etc. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that need to be fully manage the project by the local people, but actually should be some participation in terms of make sure that actually is compliant and legally construction, whatever you want. So can be a form of JV with a architect firm, a law firm, an accounting firm in Mexico, but the whole project managed by Richard and his team.
Okay.
So they have a full control, and probably they can have audits, cross audits or whatever, just to make sure that actually this is 100% compliant. And at the end of the construction and finalizing the cells, these have a profit. And eventually have the cells are gone through a portion is sell, and he can keep part of the units as his own cash cow, if you may. Or just to finance the second unit and the third unit. And just to keep the banks out of there. And actually in this part of the structure also to see which is the local banks through these law firms and accounting firms, what local banks will finance a project from abroad, just to make sure that it's kept local, particularly taking advantage of the currency exchange and everything. Because he will be collecting in dollars, but actually the financing will be in pesos, Mexican pesos, or whatever is the currency in Mexico. So probably
Pesos.
Yeah, in the long term, probably he will buy cheaper this credit or this financing when he will collect it in Canada or in the US in dollars, while his financing will be in pesos locally.
Okay.
So that's as far as here we
So what is the 40%? What do you?
selling a blueprint, it means actually you don't build anything or you don't break ground.
I understand that. Okay. Well, even before that, you tested the market on the internet. You build a website, selling these units are for sale, and you see if you get any fucking traffic.
Oh yes, this is. Well, no, we did that actually. We were checking what was in the Acapulco area, how much is they are charging, just to see what's the value of 2.5K rent. Where here it is. It's part of the research that we were doing just on the spot, just to see. This is one of the retirement homes already in Acapulco, charging £68 per day. So that would be in the region of $2,750 a month. And
68 pounds a day is about $100 a day.
Yeah, $91 and coins
Okay.
a day. Yeah. So this one is already providing half of the services that Richard is planning to provide into his retirement homes, because they have the board, food like breakfast, etc. It's medical supervision, but it doesn't mean that they don't have all the services that Richard is planning to put there. Like it will be transportation to do groceries, and then nurses and doctors and healthcare. I think you have an idea of putting healthcare services included into the services, etc. for a quite accessible price compared to this one. Also, the location is close to 1 hour away from main airports, international airports. So actually, that's the second attractiveness. So while they are close to the big metropolis, they are in a kind of a peaceful area.
My industry expert says there's 10,000 new retirees in America daily. And so there's a demand for full service, bringing the level of luxury down in Mexico, where obviously the currency is less and it's more sunny and everything. Now there's a pipeline of 55, there's 3 projects, and my industry expert calls them laydowns, so that we build them and we fill them up really quickly. The total market cap of these projects is 55 million. So I have like a small 1 million project, another one that is 29 million to build, and a third one that is 25 million. And this is interesting because it's replicable. We can copy paste it in emerging market, including Cuba and Haiti.
Okay. Well, I mean, if the site pulls traffic and there's interest, I mean, it's, anything is doable if there's interest in it. I If there's not interest, next.
There's also big players already building this type of luxury hotels, and the highways being finished very quickly. So it seems like there is a strong demand, and it's going to also generate demand for everything else that's needed. So stores, hospitals, private hospitals, and everything.
Okay.
What you've been saying basically for 2 years. That applies to Haiti 100%.
Oh, absolutely. I told you that 2 seminars ago. Did I tell you? 2 seminars ago, we had a Haitian kid that his dad was the mayor of Port-au-Prince when we were going to go in and kill everybody. And I said, just out of curiosity, what's his name? And I think I was drinking a glass of wine in there, and he told me I spilled all over myself because he was number 6 on my kill list.
His father?
Number 6.
You mean my grandfather was on your list?
Maybe. But his name I remember because I memorized the top 10 guys, and he was 6. And I said, and he said, but I mean, he was a freedom fighter. Mm-hmm. Well, not according to the CIA. He was one of the guys. And I said, just think of, if that had happened and you wouldn't be sitting here. It would have cost me 20 grand. You're not being here. So tell your dad thanks. And he says, my dad tells you thanks. Yeah, but it's interesting. But he is a computer guru, some kind of shit in the tri-state New Jersey area. That's where he lives. And good old Haiti.
So this is not a roll-up. I find it interesting because it's really a development deal. So I guess the first condition in this case is there demand? Can we get a website going? Can we get deposits in? Well, what we talked about yesterday is that after 40% sales, we can go to a bank and say that we'd like to finance the purchase of the land and start going.
Yeah, but I mean, again, this Bro Crump did this stuff, and she's in jail, your Canadian sister, because depending on how it's structured, you're selling securities. Because you're selling something that may or may not exist. It depends on the prospectus. And but she was selling developments in Africa, Nigeria.
So who had a problem with that, Nigeria or?
No, Canadian investors that put up the fucking 40%.
And it didn't happen.
Or it didn't happen like it was supposed to happen. And they weren't accredited investors. You can't just take the money from mom and pop schmucks.
So what do you suggest?
On that happy note, schmucks.